March 27th, 2025. For me, it's 26 years to the day since I entered this world. That's approximately 312 months, or 1,356 weeks, or 9,497 days. Whatever your preferred unit of measuring this time, one thing is certain, it's a lot. Imagine finding a game with a save file with this many years, days, hours, or seconds of gameplay on. I wonder how many grand adventures and side quests this character could have experienced, the amount of other players this character has interacted with, or the amount of time this character has spent working, sleeping, or even driving. The memories and growth they've experienced, or the levels they've gained in their various life stats. A 26-year-old save file would sure be impressive, but could also be a somewhat daunting or perhaps melancholic concept. How many of those early, happy childhood memories are trapped in time, like time capsules? Places we can never go back to, no matter how hard we try. Perhaps we replay these scenarios in our heads, or via the use of various forms of nostalgic media, we try to physically go back and relive these experiences. There's a reason that trying to play Modern Warfare 2 online doesn't feel the same way as it did all those years ago back in 2009. Usually, it's because it's the memories of these times we miss, not the actual game itself. Remember the first time we played a favourite childhood game, or watched our favourite TV shows or movies? The first time we played tag with all our friends on the school field? The smell of the freshly cut grass lingering in the air, accompanied by the warmth of the sun on the backs of our necks? Or maybe the first time we tried alcohol, underage of course, in a local park as the sun set, with all full music playing on a tinny speaker as we attempted to talk to our childhood crush for the first time. All the while doing a terrible job, yet they seem to entertain our efforts anyway. Perhaps we remember the first time we stayed up late texting someone we fancied, and how it made our hearts feel full and content. Maybe we recall passing our driving tests, or going on our first holiday with our friends, reminiscing about the freedom we felt and how grown up we were. All of these checkpoints are amazing parts of us, and they have shaped the characters we've become today. These are the parts of our journey that we don't want to overwrite. But then, there's also the parts of us that we wish we could overwrite. The first time we saw our parents fighting, the first friend we fell out with, the first love we lost on bad terms, the first time we dreaded getting out of bed to face the day. These are the days when the difficulty of life spiked and left us feeling incredibly lost and downbeat. The checkpoints that, although devastating, we remember the most, and sometimes cling to, as a way to prevent ourselves from experiencing these traumatic events ever again. These are the parts of our save file we wish we could overwrite, yet never seem to be able to. So, why is it we're never able to overwrite the worst parts of our save files? It's common for us as people to focus on a negative in almost all aspects of life. When things go well, we rarely think about them, but when things go bad, we can't wait to complain. Consider this: when applying for a new job, you might look at the company reviews on Glassdoor or the like. It's rare you'll see many positive reviews in these places, usually because the angry minority is always louder than the happy majority. When things are going smoothly, we often have nothing to say and forget that positive feedback is important. We almost take the happy experiences for granted. Think about those times from our past we simply can't forget. Many of them are, at their core, extremely happy memories. Like I mentioned previously, all those nights spent in Call of Duty lobbies with our friends till the small hours, the times we'd be playing our Nintendo DS's past bedtime and have to frantically slap the console shut when we heard our parents coming upstairs to check that we were actually sleeping, in combination with some of the weird sleeping positions we'd swiftly adopt in order to sell the illusion that we were asleep. Maybe we can recall the countless weekends when we'd wake up early to use the Wii console, to play Super Smash Bros, or play RuneScape on the family PC. Then, there's those summers that seem to last forever in our teen years. You know, the ones when we first experienced freedom and could go out alone or with our friends. The afternoons we spent playing football in the park, or whatever your preferred sport was. How we never got tired, and how we only went home because we had dinner arrangements. The first house parties we went to, the first beer we tasted, and how we swore we'd never enjoy that piss water in all our lives. The giddy happiness that came half a can deep, as we'd catch the gaze of the cute girl from our maths class that we had absolutely zero intentions of ever approaching. This era of the adventure was extremely fun, and most of us can look back on it with our rose-tinted specs on. These are the checkpoints that we often reminisce about at gatherings with our friends, usually backed up by one of us brandishing our phones and scrolling through the pictures from these story events and side missions. The kind that'll make up our dad lore. But life doesn't just give us pre-planned checkpoints. Sometimes it throws us into a side quest we never expected. A moment that wasn't in the main storyline, it feels like it should be. A fateful encounter. One that feels almost scripted, like it was meant to happen. Two characters from completely different worlds crossing paths for just a brief moment. There's something special about that spontaneity. How, for a short time, everything aligns perfectly. The conversation flows effortlessly, the energy is electric. And you wonder if maybe, just maybe, this was more than just a coincidence. But not every quest has a follow-up. Sometimes the episode ends before you're ready. You find yourself standing there, controller in hand, wondering if you should reload the save, try a different dialogue option, or if the story was always meant to continue without them. And that can be the hardest part, accepting that some people aren't meant to be part of the main storyline. But it doesn't make the experience any less real or any less important. Because even side quests can shape you. Even brief moments can leave a mark. Yet, life can have a funny way of looping back around. Just when you think a character has disappeared into the past, they can reappear. Sometimes in a different context. Sometimes when you're least expecting it. Maybe the timing was wrong the first time. Maybe there was more to learn before the next chapter. Or maybe, some stories are never really over. They just pause, waiting for the right moment to press play again. These are the memories that are often overshadowed by the darker times, the parts of our story so prolific that we often don't tell people about. With the way our view of the world warps as we level up into adults, we sometimes wish we could return to these happier times, almost torturing ourselves for growing up. We can remember the breakdown of our first relationship, how it ended badly and left us feeling resentful and emotionally numb. Scars we go on to carry into future relationships that make it difficult to maintain new story events with our newfound companions. The deep sadness we felt when we lost our favourite family member, how we weren't prepared for it, and how we miss them dearly still to this day. We wish they could have seen us grow into the character we've become, or that we could have one last chat with them about literally anything. There's also the issue we face of trying to replicate the good parts of our past. This action is often far more harmful than we realise. In my experience, wishing to go back to the best parts of our story can be incredibly painful. It is physically impossible to go back to any time from our past. Attempting to go back there only causes hurt. Nostalgia is a paradox. Imagine trying to relive a period of time, while never being able to physically return to said period of time, as time itself continues to tick by, resulting in you only getting further away from the memory you're trying to recreate. It's fine to have good memories, but that's where they have to stay, as memories. Don't taint them by trying to relive them. It's physically impossible and leaves you feeling more lost. The time you spent chasing these times could have been spent creating new memories altogether. I think this is why many people of my generation are incredibly obsessed with nostalgic media. Adult life now is, in many ways, far more complex than the adult life our parents faced. I recently asked my own parents, what were they nostalgic for? Only for neither of them to be able to give me any real answers. Saturday night TV was the best my mum could offer, and my dad literally couldn't think of anything. Could it possibly be that they didn't need anything nostalgic from their past to help them proceed with their futures, because their versions of the future actually seemed obtainable? So, how are we supposed to escape the hopeless daily feeling that we'll never be able to break the cycle of life, deal with the impossibility of the future, and figure out how we can possibly level up enough to achieve the goals our main characters are striving for? Or have we forgotten the purpose of our story altogether? While it's important to discuss our problems, it's also important and necessary even to discuss solutions. While I'm by no means a professional, I think it's good to help others think about ways to process how they feel. One of the biggest challenges in moving forward is that the past, especially the happy moments, can feel safer than the unknown future. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means finding a way to integrate those experiences without letting them control you. 1. Acknowledge both the pain and the joy. Both the good and the bad from your past shaped you. Instead of resisting the tough memories or clinging to the happy ones, try to see them as lessons. They were part of your story, but they don't have to define your future. A notable character from DreamWorks Animation Studio is a perfect portrayal of this concept. Throughout the series, Po struggles with his identity and past. In Kung Fu Panda 2, he learns that he was orphaned as a baby when Lord Shen's army attacked his village. At first, he's overwhelmed by the pain of his past and struggles to find inner peace. However, through his journey, he realizes that both the tragedy of losing his birth parents and the joy of being raised by Mr. Ping shaped who he is. Instead of being defined by the pain, Po embraces his entire story, both the hardships and the love he has received. This realization gives him the strength to defeat Shen, not with anger or vengeance, but with clarity and acceptance. Po's story is all about acknowledging both the good and the bad of his past, learning from them, and moving forward without being trapped by either. 2. Process the past instead of repeating it. If you find yourself constantly reliving old memories, ask yourself why you're drawn to them. Are they giving you comfort? Are they filling a void? For me personally, I found therapy can help you figure out what parts of the past you're holding onto and why. It was the carefree time from childhood to around 17 years old that I missed. I spent a lot of time trying to recreate the memories from my youth by replaying old games, listening to old music, and revisiting old places, only to never find what I was looking for. Memories are memories for a reason. They aren't meant to be relived. They're supposed to be frozen in time, only taking out of the metaphoric box from the attic every so often when we reminisce with our friends or family. A good way I've learned to think about the past is that everything we've experienced up until this point was meant to be experienced. They are our own story events or missions that only we were meant to play through. It's also worth remembering that you have a 100% success rate of surviving your worst days, because, well, you're still playing, aren't you? 3. Mindfulness and acceptance. The more present you are, the less power the past has over you. Practices like meditation, grounding exercises, or simply being more aware of your thoughts can help. When a happy memory arises, instead of getting lost in it, acknowledge it, smile, and gently bring yourself back to the present. Like the previous point, don't try to recreate old memories, be present and make new ones. You can't compare the present moment with this romanticized version of the past. Let these memories go and proceed with new quests. It can be difficult to let go of these times, but it's necessary. Sometimes we struggle to let go because we don't have something pulling us toward the future. Set new goals, create new experiences, and remind yourself that life still has so much to offer. Part of the reason why I do what I do is because it helps give me a vision and purpose outside of the mundane rat race that is life. I also find it fulfilling that the videos I make help people out and positively affect them. 4. Forgive yourself and others if needed. If there's regret or unresolved pain, carrying it will only weigh you down. Forgiveness isn't about saying something was okay. It's about freeing yourself from its hold. Perhaps you did something in your past that you deeply regret. Maybe you feel you wasted time with the wrong person, or maybe you were the one that wasted somebody's time. Replaying the scenario over and over to yourself won't fix anything. It'll just break you more. There's a song by one of my favourite artists, Loyal Kana, that encapsulates this notion perfectly. The song is entitled Ottolenghi and covers the concept of how, through personal growth, we should leave the bad parts of our story behind and proceed forward. Born and raised, made attempts to crawl away. Find a way to exist and hide your face, some relate. Leave everything in yesterday. The chorus is the most relatable part of the song to me. I feel that it's somewhat of a universal description of how challenging life can be for pretty much all of us. Every one of us is a person who was born and raised in different ways, by different people, and in different environments. There may have been times where we tried to crawl away, whether that directly relates to us learning to move around in our formative years, or when we grew older and tried to get away from areas or situations that may have been unfamiliar, painful, or limiting. Despite this, Jordan leaves us with one piece of advice: leave everything in yesterday. The way I see this, Loyal and Jordan aren't telling us to act like things of our past don't matter at all. or that it's all somehow easy not to dwell on the past, but rather, this is an encouragement to live in the present and to make the most of where we are now. Master Oogway also once said that today is a gift, and that is why it is called the present. And I mean, who wouldn't listen to a wise old tortoise that knew Kung Fu? So, here we are, 26 years into the save file. A file filled with quests, side missions, victories, losses, and lessons learned. Some checkpoints we cherish, others we wish we could reload and do differently. But no matter how much time has passed or how much we long for the past, one thing remains. The story continues. The past will always be a part of us, shaping who we are, but it doesn't define who we can become. Every second that ticks by is another entry in the save file, another opportunity to level up, to rewrite the narrative, and to chase new adventures instead of reliving old ones. There's no final boss waiting at the end of this journey, no grand cinematic moment that signals that you've won at life, but there is something perhaps even better. Growth, connection, and the endless possibility of what comes next. So, here's to the next checkpoint, the next big quest, and the next unforgettable moment we'll look back on one day with nostalgia, but this time, not regret. Remember, the controller is still in your hands. What level is next for you?